Hey everybody, Dr. G here with a primer video for our meeting at the Chico Garden Center. I wanted to bring up the idea about plants being biomolecular factories and thinking about how do we feed the plant across its life cycle with the right amount of nutrients at the right time, in the right form, and in the right place. That's right, using the 4Rs to feed our plants. So, a little background information for all of your upper division plant science majors. So you should have thought about and learned about photosynthesis many times across your lives. Just remember this basic idea that the plant uses these amazing biomolecules to capture electrons and energy from sunlight, and it uses CO2 that it takes into its stomates, water from its roots along with nutrients, and assembles those particles and those nutrients and that energy into energy-rich, reduced organic molecules. In this case, we always talk about simple sugars like glucose. From that step, from fixing that energy into glucose along with nutrients and carbon, it leads the plant into this cascade of other biomolecular products, right? Different things, different processes. I was going to say biochemistry. I'm doing this one as a one-off. I didn't practice this one as much as I normally would, so I'm not going to be as smooth. So through this process, we get to this idea that there is a fundamental group of molecules that we all live by and that plants produce, right? So let's just quickly talk about the idea of macromolecules and polymers. So macromolecules are just organic molecules, small foundational units that become assembled into larger things with tens, hundreds, thousands of carbons. Macromolecules are bonded through covalent bonds, so those carbon-carbon and carbon-oxygen bonds. These often can turn into polymers or long chains of different macromolecules linked together. There are 4 classes of life that we can basically talk about: carbohydrates, proteins, and nucleic acids. 3 of those are polymerized. Carbohydrates are polymers, proteins are polymers, nucleic acids are polymers. Lipids are not, right? But why do we bring this up? Because this is what we're growing. This is what the plant's producing. And if we do a good job, we can make sure that the plant's producing high quality in the right proportions, and then we can harvest those either as food or as a variety of other compounds that we can use to make a variety of things in our lives. So other than those 4 sets of compounds, there's a much broader universe of biomolecules, as I'm alluding to. Here we can think about a specific plant. These are percentages across many different types of plants. Obviously, waxes and pigments, amino acids, starches, proteins, hemicelluloses, celluloses, lignins, and other secondary compounds. What you're trying to grow and why is a combination of plant breeding, plant stresses, and obviously appropriate nutrition. Some of these slides are going to be shown in a little bit more detail in the stuff that I posted in Module 3. Plant growth stages, right? We're really trying to get to this idea, and I've been preaching it the whole time, about the nutrition of the plant, not just providing how much it needs, but in those 4Rs concepts: right place, right quantity, right time, and right form. We're going to be talking about cannabis production and a really more boutique-y look at how to grow plants and feed them, because you have the flexibility. If you're growing in a greenhouse or with a nice fertigation system, you can start to really customize the nutrition of what that plant's getting and when, to make it focus on different types of biomolecules. Let's just watch this quick video. Actually, I'll let you watch the video on your own. I'll provide the slides. But so, how might you change the nutrient environment at germination versus emergence versus vegetative growth and into flowering? What types of things might you want to know about nutrient-wise? I'm going to leave that open, but I want to get that question out there, because this is what Austin and Karen are going to be talking about at the Garden Center. How do you know about the plant well enough to give it what it needs when it needs it, not just a bath of a variety of different nutrients? This leads us to the underground part, right? I mean, we're going to be getting into roots and the rhizosphere a little bit in the coming weeks, but just this idea that the plant-root interaction, or the rhizosphere, is really one of the most important places on the planet. This is where the transfer of carbon and energy from the plant, the upper plant photosynthesis, and the place where that interface for the roots for nutrients and water, plus that interaction carbon-rich compounds going into soil to feed the microbial community providing resources back in the form of mineralized nutrients. It's a really dynamic place, obviously, and we'll go into this in more detail. We covered this in lab last week, so just a quick refresher. Nutrients are uptaken by three basic mechanisms by the plant: mass flow, interception, and diffusion. Right? Thinking about roots is a really important aspect of growing plants. And thinking about the type of nutrient, its mobility, its uptake characteristics, the plant's ability, those are really, really important ideas for you to start thinking about now and then becoming more aware of over time. This leads us to this maybe a little bit deeper idea about soils being an organometallic system. There are minerals in soil, and there's a bank of organic carbon-based materials in various forms and that provide function to the soil. Soil organic matter, we talked about C/N ratio, we talked about mineralization. Well, the product of this and part of this, the interaction of this system is soil itself, not just what's breaking down, but what's being stored. Soil organic matter as a primary reservoir for nutrients, carbon, energy, and it provides a bunch of other things that we'll talk about soon. I want to bring up the idea of enzymes. How do most of these processes occur? Through enzymatic reactions. Enzymes are protein catalysts that speed up reactions by lowering activation energy. You see that here at the bottom. A non-catalyzed reaction needs more energy to reach a threshold that allows it to move forward versus an enzymatically catalyzed reaction, which lowers that energy. Why does this matter? Just need to think about enzymes in the plant, but also enzymes are used to move nutrients within the plant and to bring nutrients from soil into the root across membranes. One more idea. This was another one that came up earlier this semester when we talked about aquaponics, this idea of ligands or chelates. In solution-based systems and in soil, because soil is a solid solution system, the importance of ligands or chelates, organic molecules like enzymes that can bind up different metal ions and make them more soluble than they would be on their own. Chelates are very important in any type of system where you're adding liquid nutrients. And then chelates obviously happen naturally in soil by this interaction of soil organic matter, decomposition, and this variety of organic molecules that get introduced into the system from the plant, from microbial decomposition. These organic molecules are floating around, they interact with metals, and they make those metals more soluble and more mobile, which we've talked about again and again. That's a main issue in fertility, is not only is the amount of nutrients there, but can it get to the root in a reasonable way? And ligands are very important. We talk about organic matter, and I'm kind of going backwards at this, but just like there's a common set of molecules that we all work from, of compounds that we eat and are made up and made from, there's basic organic building blocks in soil. I'm not going to try to detail this out in too much, but just know that what we grow in the plant is what we find in the soil, and these molecules really are this common currency for plant, microbe, and animal, us, to interact both in our ability to eat and consume. But these things make very important reactions happen in soil. Just check this out for a second. I don't know. Like I said, I wish I would have practiced a little bit longer. Sorry. Cut. Okay, let's close it up right there. This was just a hot take. Like I said, I never like recording stuff where I don't have it all worked out in my mind. But just think about chelates, roots, rhizosphere, growth stage, nutrients, and the need of plants for different quantities of nutrients, both quantities and qualities and ratios at different times during the growth phase. All right, check this out. I'll see you tomorrow at the Chico Garden Center.